everyone and welcome to the FPL Family YouTube channel. I'm Sam and this is a brand new series of videos that we are bringing to you for pre-season this year. In each of these different deep dig videos we will take one of the Premier League sides and look at them in detail in terms of what they did over the course of the 2021 season and think about whether they're actually worth investing in at all ahead of the 21-22 season, and if they are, which are the assets that we think are the ones to spend our budget on. We're going to start today, we're going in alphabetical order, so we're starting today with Arsenal. Now, our friends at FF Scout have kindly allowed us to use the data from the members area in these videos. On the screen you have a couple of heat maps. If you aren't an FF Scout member already and you haven't seen the kind of data that they provide with a whole new members area coming in this pre-season, there is a link below in the description which will get you 20% off membership. It is definitely worth having ahead of the new season. Really helpful stuff in there. Arsenal scored 55 goals and the first graphic that you can see shows where those goals came from. 50 of the 55 goals coming from inside the penalty box, with just 5 coming from outside the box. That is the second lowest number of goals scored outside the box across the whole division last year. The other graphic shows the goals alongside the assists, 38 assists and 13 fantasy assists. My favourite assists, the ones that you don't necessarily expect are going to count, and then they do, and the bonus points feel like they've just rolled in as a result of those assist points coming. Arsenal were the 9th best in the league for goals scored last season, so distinctly average from that perspective. But they were fairly good for possession. They had 53% possession average per game. They were the 5th best in the league for touches in the opponent's half, and in the final third where they managed 6,907 touches. Of those, 934 of them came inside the box. Now we're going to go through the Arsenal side position by position, working out whether we think that they're worth investment of ahead of this new season. So we're going to start with the goalkeeper. Now Leno this season has been priced at 5 million. He was Arsenal's highest scoring player across FPL in the 2021 season, well, alongside Aubameyang they tied. Leno started 35 of Arsenal's 38 games last season, and in that time kept 11 of their 12 clean sheets. 12 clean sheets again was the 8th best in the league, so again distinctly average from Arsenal in terms of there wasn't really anything massively exciting when it came to clean sheets and goals scored. There were others that were better options last year, but they did have a lot of injuries in defence last year, and so this season might be a different story. Leno, if you fancy investing in the Arsenal keeper this season, is going to cost you 5 million. As I say, started 35 of the games last year and did manage to keep 11 clean sheets. And across those 35 games, he made 87 saves. Now, that sounds okay on paper, but when you look at that in comparison to some of the cheaper goalkeeper options that are on offer this year, it's not actually that many in terms of saves, and we really do want the goalkeepers racking up saves because those saves mean additional points in terms of save points and therefore more opportunities for upside with your keeper if they keep clean sheets, if they don't keep clean sheets, and also in terms of bonus points and the bonus point structure. So for example, Gaeta made 106 saves at Crystal Palace last season and Sanchez made 66 for Brighton, even though he played 12 games less than Leno. So when we think that those two are both going to cost you a whole 0.5 million less, they're valued at 4.5 million for this season. To me, it makes Leno feel just that little bit not worthy of the stretch to buy him ahead of the cheaper 4.5 options that you could have instead. But there is potential there for upside with saves. With the Arsenal defence looking like they're coming back to full fitness, Tierney returning, maybe we might get something more in terms of clean sheets from them next season, and therefore making Leno worth that 0.5 more. For me though, I think I'll be tempted to just stick with the 4.5s. Moving into defence then, the highest scoring defender for Arsenal last season was Holding, closely followed by Tierney. Now, Holding for me is a really interesting one. He took part in 131 aerial duels last season, and of those, won 71 of them. He was also the best defender for tackles across the Arsenal side with 61, with a win percentage rate of those tackles of 70.5%. So actually, in terms of his ability to gain points from bonuses, he was doing all of the right things, but he did only manage 22 penalty area touches across the whole of the season last year. So he's not really going to get you much in the way of attacking threats. However, if Arsenal's ability to keep clean sheets can be built upon this season, then maybe he might be a good option. When you compare his penalty area touches, though, to the likes of Bellerin and Tierney, who got 49 and 47 respectively, and they were the top Arsenal defenders for attempts on goal last season with 15 each, they look to have a lot more potential upside than Holding does. So potentially they're worth that additional 0.5. But for me, if you're going to pay 5 million for Tierney, I'd want to see Arsenal starting to keep more clean sheets than they did last season. We have seen some good stuff from Tierney across the Euros though, so if he can replicate that in the Premier League for Arsenal next season, might just be worth the investment. Now, the key thing for me with the Arsenal side this year is probably going to be the forward line. So looking at Lacazette, Aubameyang, Pepe and Saka, who I've got on the screen for you right now. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, Aubameyang has changed positions this season. So he's done a bit of a positional hokey-cokey over the past couple of years, moving last season into midfield, which we were all delighted about at the time because the potential for additional points for goals and also the clean sheet points was there, and we thought that that might lead to a record haul for Aubameyang last season, but he just never really got going. Although he was Arsenal's top point scorer last season, he wasn't the same Aubameyang that we'd seen in seasons gone by. Indeed, it was Lacazette who was Arsenal's top goal scorer last season, managing 13 from 45 attempts on goal. And of course, he's costing you significantly less. Aubameyang valued at 10 million to Lacazette's 8.5 this season. Aubameyang did manage 10 goals. He was the second best Arsenal goal scorer this season alongside Pepe with 10 each. He did his from 48 attempts. So slightly more attempts on goal than Lacazette did, but 3 less goals over the course of the season. Now, of course, with the move back to up top, Lacazette and Aubameyang, there's no longer an advantage to owning Aubameyang over Lacazette in terms of the points scored or in terms of clean sheets. And when you compare Aubameyang to, say, Jamie Vardy from Leicester, who is valued at the same price point as he is, there's just no way that you're going to go Aubameyang over Vardy. I don't think you're going to go Vardy either, by the way, and we'll talk about that when we do the Leicester deep dig in a few weeks' time. But actually, when you look at the conversion rate, the data points, Aubameyang just isn't doing enough for me to warrant that price tag. Pepe, on the other hand, valued as a midfielder in the game, so of course that means that he has the upside or the potential upside for clean sheets and the additional points for goals scored. He got 10, as I mentioned, across the season from a conversion rate of 41.7%, which was only bettered by Lacazette, whose conversion rate for last season was 62.2, Aubameyang down at 36.8. So massive discrepancies between the two, but it seems to me that if you're going to go with the Arsenal attacking line, of those 3 expensive options, Pepe is probably the best one. But I think you can save yourself a nice chunk of money by going for Saka instead. He is much nicer price point to enter the Arsenal team at 6.5 million. Can nicely slot into that 4th or 5th midfielder spot depending upon how you're structuring the rest of your side. He got 5 goals last season, which was the 4th best Arsenal player across the team. So there's definitely potential there. And of course, he wasn't starting as regularly as the other guys were. So towards the back end of the season, we saw some really good stuff from Saka. And when he started in the Euros for England, he was unbelievable, made such a difference across that side. And if we can see him bring that back from the Euros and build a case across the Arsenal side for him to be the one that starts every single week while he's fit, which I think is what we're going to see this season, then I think at that price point, Saka really could be worthy of our investment. I don't think you're going to necessarily start the season by spending a lot of money on Arsenal when there are other assets across the division who we've seen take really big price jumps for this season. But investing in Saka or maybe one of the slightly cheaper defenders, potentially looking at Holding if you're not worried about attacking threat and you're just looking for somebody that you're happy to bench every now and then, they could be nice options. For me at Arsenal, the cheaper assets are probably the ones that you're going to invest in. I'm not convinced that you want to spend a lot of money on these Arsenal attackers or even the level that you need to pay for Tierney or Leno. That's it for Arsenal. I'll be back next time when we look at Aston Villa.